Hello. Hi, how are you? A little loud down here. We got a bunch of snow, so the oven's gotta work overdrive. Cooking people. Oh, I'm just playing. So, I wanted to read something to you. I don't know if anybody's read it to you yet, but I know you haven't taken the time to read it yourself. Ah ha ha ha. And that's the sad part, actually. You know, I know it's one thing to not know that something exists, but it's a whole different thing to know that something exists and not give a fuck about yourself, to go and find out information on it. Now, that's what we have today. We have a lot of people that say, oh, I believe in Jesus, but they ain't gonna read about Jesus. I believe in heaven. They're not gonna go read about heaven. They're not going to read that heaven and Jesus do not agree. When Jesus says heaven out of his mouth, and you go back and read about heaven, it doesn't add up. Going two different ways on a one-way street. So, I'm going to take this herb that God said that he gave me every herb-bearing tree, and that I can do what I want with it. I'm going to put fire to it. And since I know I'm a Hebrew Indian, and this is what we call peace pipes, I'm gonna calm myself down and not promote war. I'm gonna lower the level. All right. Are you calm too? I hope so. Because today we're gonna read some shit. Alright. Oh, I have my reading lungs now. Listen very carefully. We've come in contact with a man out in Utah. He is very smart. He is very interesting. He has a lot of ideas. If you would like to get in contact with this person, he said I cannot use his name. He lives in Utah. He has a lot of ideas. He told us that there is some land down there that we could go down there and we could plant and set up tents on the land that he rents down there. He said we could grow food. He discussed this with his property owner, and they were okay with this. And when we were talking, he said he had between 1/3 of an acre, 1/3 of an acre, and 1/4 of an acre. He said around 15 people could stay on that land. Oh, and the land is by Mount Nebo. But he might need stuff, assistance with stuff. On top of that, he also connected me with, how do you say that? The real estate agent. So there's a chance I could be trying to purchase a half acre. Now he has a quarter, between a quarter and a third for some people to be able to use, and I can get you in contact with him. And eventually, in the next couple of months, there's a chance that I could be purchasing a half acre in the same location from the same owner through the same realty agent. Now, the interesting thing, this land that he rents to own, whatever, it's pretty close to Mount Nebo. So, if you like to go out to Utah and work with with the guy out there, Denny, let me know, and I'll connect you with him. And if you'd like to go out when I go out, sit tight. You know? This guy, Danny, he sent me something. It is called Pope Francis sends powerful letter via attorney. Now, I got this through an email, and I just typed this out online. Now, all you have to do is type in Pope Civil Orders to Obama, July 4th, 2014. Now, that's all you have to do is type that shit in. Alright? Now, what I'm looking at is a website called The Promise Revealed. Now, there's a creator. He has a promise. Go outside when it's raining. Go look for the rainbow. You'll see the rainbow. The rainbow means the covenant's in effect. How do you get a rainbow? When water mist refracts off of what? Glass. You start to see color spectrums, right? So when you look up in the air and there's a firmament. Now, snow globe effect, right? And there's a firmament over you and you cannot see it. When the rainbow shows, you've got to understand you're seeing a refraction of what? Color, because of the light off the what? Glass. You have senses. Just because the weatherman says blah blah blah, there ain't no damn God, doesn't mean your senses don't work. For those that have eyes but cannot see, for those that have ears but are deaf, this doesn't mean you have the shape. This means the organ actually works, but something in your head blocks reality. Now, I've been talking with somebody. Let us find the truth. YouTube author, let us find the truth. I've been talking to this man, and he has said in numerous conversations, the New Testament is not for us. He strongly believes, and when the Antichrist is brought up, that is the devil to the Christians. He also strongly states, wouldn't we be the Antichrist? You've got to understand, you got Chrislamity coming, or Islamity, Christian, Catholic, Islam, all mixed. This is coming. So on one side of the fence, you've got Mammon, Muhammad, and Jesus. On the other side of the fence, you have the Creator, you have Michael, you have Emmanuel, you have the prophets of the Old Testament. Do you see the dividing line? We cannot sit on the fence, tell ourselves Christianity helps us. You cannot sit there and say, I'm not going to get a better condition than this. That's you already giving up. That's the baby in you wanting to be coddled. Now, I recently got a phone call from a different man on the same subject. He says, you know what? We'll talk about that in a minute. Let me read this. Ow! Let me read this. Pope civil orders to Obama, July 4th. 4th of July. Independence Day. Independence Day 2014. What did the Pope say to Obama via attorney? Civil orders, July 4th, 2014, issued to all members of the domestic police forces, U.S. Marshal Service, the Provost Marshal, members of the American Bar Association, and the American Armed Services. Yes, I'm in an empty room looking back and forth like I'm speaking to all those people. I know they're not there, and I'm continuing to do it to make sure I have eye contact with all of those people I cannot see. These organic American states of the Union, known as the United States of America, major, exercising plenary civil power upon the land hereby appointed General Carter F. Ham to lead and command the Grand Army of the Republic. Excuse me. So, this states, General Ham has now been appointed to lead the Grand Army of the Republic. Now, this should start to sound a little Star Wars-ish to you. Now, we have generals, we have U.S. generals, with all kinds of military men. Now, the Pope has just wrote to Obama and to all police forces. He said this: this is my general, General Ham. He is now the general of the what? The Grand Army of the Republic and its successors under the guidance of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and with their full support. Listen. Should it become necessary to suppress commercial mercenary forces operating under the guise of being federal government agencies, including, but not limited to, the Department of Homeland Security, mercenary group, the Federal Emergency Management Administration, FEMA, mercenary group, under the guise of a U.S. institution, the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, militant group, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, DEA, mercenary forces, a militant group under the guise as a U.S. institution. General Ham shall assume immediate command and control of all armed forces owed to the United States of America, Major, stationed in North America, and shall join them under his command as the Grand Army of the Republic. All forces of air, land, and sea are to be employed. Any cost or loss suffered as a result of deployment of the Grand Army of the Republic shall be charged as stipulated prior an act of war. All effort shall be made by the Grand Army of the Republic to spare life and property while undertaking any action whatsoever within the states of the Union without exception. The Grand Army of the Republic is uniquely enabled by these orders. This is the same fucking decree that was given to Columbus, motherfucker. Are you understanding? The Grand Army is uniquely enabled by these orders, these apostolic authority, to operate on the land of the 50 organic states for the purpose of securing the lives and the property of the American states and American state citizens. The Grand Army of the Republic is not a foreign army and is comprised primarily of American state citizens. If required to take field position, the local commanders shall make every effort to communicate their the basis of their authority. So they'll communicate the basis of their authority and the reasons for their presence on American state soil to ensure a prompt cessation of hostilities and a widespread understanding of the usurpations and acts of fraud which have led to any conflict. I'm going to stop right there. What is being said here? The acts on the American citizens by mercenaries. By mercenaries. That's where I stopped. So, Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Administration, Internal Revenue Service, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. And then it says ETC, etc., meaning all of these agencies that NSA. I can start pulling alphabet soup shits out of the hat. It doesn't say CIA and it doesn't say FBI. Now, are those two alphabet soups separate from these soups? Well, we'll have to find out later. I'm going to explain this. You and your wife, you and your girlfriend, okay, you go and have a baby, you get 2 birth certificates. You get a retard birth certificate, that's like a receipt from the store, and then the Pope gets the baby's foot stamp and hand stamp. Now, you'd have to ask, well, why does the Pope get the foot stamp and hand stamp? Why does he get that birth certificate? The long form. Well, once upon a time, someone sat in a Pope's seat in 1452 and they made a document that said enslave the Israelites, enslave the Moabites, enslave the Amorites, enslave the Egyptians, seize Jerusalem. And he gave those orders to Columbus. Columbus came over here and did his job, and that's why we celebrate Columbus Day every year. but nobody steals anything from anybody when we celebrate it. So they rule over us, they take our property and send it away. The problem is, they stripped everything that they knew how to get at that time, meaning technology versus gold and silver, technology versus other metals that they could have got but didn't know of at that time. You know, as time went on and they understood those metals, they stripped those out. As time went on and they understood other chemicals in the U.S. soil, they stripped those out. Now we're lack of gas, lack of natural gas, lack of oil, lack of gold, lack of silver, all in this land, lack of platinum. This land is known for copper. Lack of copper, all have been extracted from the land, like the Borg came, and shipped back to these European kings, who have set up mercenary groups within the United States under the guise of organizations. Now, these organizations, like the Internal Revenue Service, have got between the Pope, who has enslaved us, and the Pope's money. Now the Pope, he said, nobody takes my motherfucking money. The Pope has said, you don't think I have fucking authority? I'll set things back the way they were. And I'll show you the authority I have. So, this letter might be to Obama, but this letter already names the enemies. It says, I'm going to read this again. Should it become necessary to suppress commercial mercenary forces operating under the guise of being federal government agencies, including but not limited to the Department of Homeland Security, DHS. The Pope wrote via attorney law to the Commander-in-Chief of the United States, Major. This has nothing to do with what you think it does. This has to do with white supremacy. And Latins are at the top of white supremacy, whether you think so or not. Now, King Latin, the Pope, has told all these non-Latins here, you're going to continue to bow, or I'm going to put you to death. So these government agencies, who all have different kings. Yes, sure, they're Freemasons, but they're of this order, or of this order, or of this order, or of this order. So now, each of these Freemason organizations have mercenary forces operating under the guise of being federal government agencies. It's just that simple. So, when the IRS says, I'm collecting money, whether they're collecting money for the Queen, whether they're collecting money for the Rothschilds, the Pope over here says, fuck that. That's my money. So now, we have a mobster war. And we're involved. You don't think you're involved? Let me scroll down again. The GAR, the Grand Army of the Republic, is uniquely enabled by these orders to operate on the land of 50 organic states for the purpose of securing the lives and property. Slaves are property. Chattel slaves are property. Dead slave cannot live. It is useless. That's why it says lives first. Securing the purposes of securing the lives and property of the American states and American state citizens. The Grand Army of the Republic is not a foreign army. It's comprised primarily of American state citizens. So, that is what's happening. Now, I just watched CNN about a week ago, and I watched Hillary Clinton cry and whine that Obama took U.S. authority out of the Pacific Ocean and signed documents so that if he's not in office later, that whoever's in office cannot regain that power. Now, that happened, and I watched Hillary Clinton complain about it. Now, today's April 9th. On April 2nd, the Chinese, who owns all our debt, who owns our flesh, the higher fucking your debt is, the more pounds you owe them. So if you're Caucasian and you got a bunch of cars and you still owe hundreds of $1,000s on your car, your house, your mortgage, this, that, and the other, you're more valuable as a slave for the debt you've created for yourself than I am. I got about $20,000 in debt. Maybe. Like maybe. Not even that much. But if I had 2 cars, this and that, then I'd have a lot of debt. And the Chinese buy that debt because they want your property and your flesh. Does that say what they protect? Property and flesh? Well, in 1933, we went bankrupt. We don't have any more money. And then what? Didn't we do Title 11 bankruptcy? That means whatever we ask for from other people, we can never pay back. But we don't care about those laws. And that's why it's easy to rule over us, whether we be black, whether we be white. That Benjamin Franklin told you, this is your land, white man, as long as you can keep it. And right now, it's slipping from your grasp, and you don't even understand. And a lot of white people call Obama the Antichrist because Christianity is slipping from them because they're being told that. Like nothing's slipping anywhere. If media keeps broadcasting, Christians are attacked by Muslims, what have Christians done for the last 400 years? They've been murdering and killing. And then they use technology and forge different kinds of weapons like the bullet. So they've been killing with technology for a long time, and nobody sits there, Christians are killing everybody! And nobody says that. Because we live in a Christian Catholic society. Society where they worship this entity called Christ, who, when you look up, is Mercury. Now I know each time we go into these attributes of Christ equal this and these attributes of Christ equal that, but their God is the God of commerce and the God of war. These American soldiers that go fucking murder people in other lands are Christians. They say, I worship Christ, well, let's get in the army and fucking go kill. They take an oath and go kill in the name of Christ. Just like Columbus did. This is what these people do. That Muslim shit ain't no better. They're brainwashed into thinking they're on different sides. In a minute, these spiritual leaders are going to unite Christianity, Catholicism with Islam, Chrislam, Catholicism. So, how are these people enemies? It's the people that control the media that want you to think that they're enemies. Should I worship the God of heaven? The Ten Commandments has been given to us. He says, through these 10 commandments you can worship me. These Mohammedans, these Chrislamians, they don't utilize the 10 commandments. They do opposite of the 10 commandments. Muslims say, worship my God or die. That's murder. That is murder. Christians say, Inquisition, Catholic Inquisition, worship my God or die. That's the same fucking thing the Muslims just said. And you're telling me that's not the same fucking faction? Jesus looked like a yellow Arab. Sometimes he looked like a redhead Arab. Muhammad's a fucking Arab. Muhammad is recorded in history as preaching to Israelites, and when they laughed at his ass, aren't black people known at laughing for people when they're wrong? Not correcting them, but laughing at them. When Muhammad was laughed at, he slaughtered the Israelites. This is recorded throughout history. I don't have to go get the book. You look for the book. With these people, join or die. I'm not on any side of this. I'm not on any side of this. The Pope enslaved me, just like he enslaved you, just like everybody else is about to be enslaved. You allowed this to happen. I was born yesterday. The day before yesterday, you allowed these things to set up on your stolen soil. These things are your fault. And you will be enslaved again for these things. And your oppressor will be enslaved beside you. Because you and your oppressor have the same God. It doesn't matter if it's your Arab oppressor and his Mohammedan belief. It doesn't matter if it's your Catholic oppressor and his Christian belief. I follow the Creator, whom says, take no side, left nor right. Walk straight. These people kill you for commercial blessings. These people kill you for financial blessings. They don't pray to God to heal their child. They pray to Christ to give them finances to pay the medical bills. They pray to Christ that the doctors who took the Apollyon oath will heal their kid. Not that the Creator who created all will heal their kid. Now, I'm going to continue this with the Grand Army of the Republic versus mercenary groups. Now see, the Old Testament, and it's going to be over you. And if you don't come back to the Lord, whoever wins this fight, and they tell you who's going to win, they're going to carry you away until the remnant that left sets things right and comes to collect you later. Now, I can't help you don't want to read. I can't help that all you got to do to break the curse is break a sweat. See, I'm cursed to have not big arms. All I got to do is just keep doing push-ups. I've got a giant frame and all I got to do is do push-ups. But instead I read. You've got a giant fucking head. And all you got to do is read. You fall asleep, wake up, continue to read. That's all you got to do. But it's easier for you to do push-ups. Now, one of us is smarter. And I can't help that. Because I chose not to do push-ups. Now, it's going to be like this. You allowed yourself to be in a specific position to only be utilized one way. Now, if you're the fucking genius, then tell me where to be on the battlefield. Now, if you're not the genius, shut up. And when I tell you where to go on the battlefield, go. The battle's coming. We need to assemble ourselves, preach to ourselves, and set our sights on Zion. It doesn't say Mount Zion. It says Zion. It don't say set your sights on the people. It just told you for people to come together. Israelites, come together. Set your sights on yourselves. Set your sights on the mountain. Set your sights on where Moses died, Zion. The Zion connected to Moab. This is our way out. You can sit here and have a fucking war between the IRS and the fucking Grand Army of the Republic happen right on your doorstep. You can film it. You can upload it. You can show the people getting fucking chopped down, you know. You can show when stray bullets come to your house and shoot down your kids accidentally. You can broadcast all that eventually. Because this war is coming. They were given orders. 2 years ago. 2 years ago they were given orders. Go ahead and war with these mercenary groups. Under the guise, what does it say? I like to get this correct. Under the guise of being federal government agencies. I didn't put those people in power. I didn't put a fake president over us to be able to strip our resources. I didn't give the orders to the president to say the resources that are being stripped are being diverted from my bank account and I'm mad. I didn't say any of that shit. So, the vicar of Jesus is mad at the vicars of Muhammad and other Christian factions. It's the Pope versus the 10 kings that put the Pope in power. And it's being played out right in front of us. Covert wars. And we don't even understand. I'm telling you. Soon this shit's gonna break out right on your doorstep. It's gonna be your fault because you've been warned. Now listen very carefully. All this shit aside. These groups, both sides, they control the broadcasting. Whether it's radio, TV, whether it's the chemicals you eat. They control it all. They will drag you in. They will. And you don't respect that. You think you're above it. You're the lowest person on the fucking caste system. They shoot you down in the streets every month before this war breaks out. And you're gonna act like you're above it because of your fucking ego and because of your stiff ass neck. And I can't help that. I'm on film. Telling people that look like me, whether they're light skinned with afros, dark skinned with afros. I'm on film telling people with the same belief as me. You worship the creator of all only. I'm on film telling everybody that's gonna listen and has the same faith, no matter what their appearance is, go to the fucking desert. Now I've read to you from the scripture. Israelites, go to the desert and assemble amongst yourselves. If you got a wife from a different race and she worships the God that you worship, that's covered by the law. So she is part of your group. If people don't see it that way, then form a separate fucking group. You're still in the same place. You're not going to be able to stop this by thought. You're not going to get superpowers and beams coming out of your fucking eyes. The only way you can stop yourself from being part of this is taking yourself off the battle map. Does anybody understand that? If I'm always in fear I'm gonna die in a crash on the expressway, then I never drive on the expressway. If I'm in fear that I'm gonna die in a parachuting accident, then I never get on a fucking plane. And I try to make sure no parachute dude can land on me. It's an accident. I didn't say you were jumping or somebody, you know. If I have fears, it's up to me to either defeat the fears or to keep my ass out of that frying pan. Now listen, if that frying pan is coming to our doorsteps, then we need to change our doorsteps. These people that made the Dead Sea Scrolls are called the Essenes. They did not believe in Christ. They preached and rioted against Christ. They were kicked out of the cities, formed the Essenes community, wrote books of the laws, of the histories. They rewrote some of the books that were destroyed at the libraries. They mounted together and they preached to each other to what? Move the slaves out of Rome and go to a place where they could be a nation and no longer be ruled over and be vassals to someone else, to be taxed by someone else. The Israelites had Jerusalem. The people in the city gave 10% so that Jerusalem could be upkept. We live in communities that they steal 30%. Let me explain this. mercenary forces operating under the guise of being federal government agencies, including but not limited to, what? The Internal Revenue Service. Takes 30% of your paycheck and fucking says it's mandatory, but can never show you a law. That means that group bullied employers, and employers will not give paychecks out without sending the Internal Revenue Service their percentage first. And that's not a law. So that's just mercenary groups saying they're just gonna tax me. Now, let me explain something to you, since all of you people are really silly when it comes to taxes. An employer hires me. That employer has ordered food. To buy that food, it was taxed. That employer serves that food. That meal was taxed. That food's already been taxed once. How can you tax that plate? Oh, well, somebody did a little bit to it, so you can tax. That's fraud. If you buy a whole, every piece separated should have already been taxed. Now I'm explaining to you. So, you go to work, you make $500. When you're paid, that money been taxed. Let's see. 30%. $500. No, let's pretend that's let's just pretend it's $100. Whatever. Now, they done took $100 from you. We all know it's like closer to 150, 170. I'm just saying. They took $100 from you. The $500 you just received has been taxed. You only got $400. Now you go to the store. When you buy something at the store, you taxed, right? But when the store owner ordered the food and beverages to be placed in his store, he was taxed per. When he ordered from Pepsi, he was taxed. He got a bill and what? Shipping and receiving as well. Paid for and taxed. His beef jerky, paid for and taxed. Cigarettes, paid for and taxed. And then you come to the store, buy pop, beef jerky, and cigarettes, and you gotta pay what? State sales tax. Well, it's all of a sudden a tax just to be able to sell to you. As an employee to someone, you were already taxed. Your money was already taxed. The money that's already taxed that you're spending on other things has already been taxed. Now you take your $500 paycheck, which you got $400 in cash, and as you keep spending it, you keep getting taxed on the same fucking amount of money that was already, what? Taxed, yeah! I'll play a game with you. We can show it in cake. In every piece of cake I get, I'll give 1/3 of that cake and slap it on the floor. Now, it's gonna surprise you that if I cut the cake immediately and throw 1/3 of it on the floor, that's not the whole tax. That's the initial tax of your paycheck. Now, every piece you get, you're still throwing a third on the floor. I just want a small corner. A third on the floor! I'll take that piece in the north. A third on the floor! Now, do you know, by the time you're done eating the portion of cake that you can eat versus the third on the floor, there's more fucking cake on the floor than it's in your belly. Now, how does that make sense? See, we're talking about finance. How can you grow if every time you scratch your ass, somebody else wants to take a feel? How can I save if every time I've got to eat to survive, you're taking from my percentage, my whole? This guy owns something and I get a percentage from him, and then from my percentage, there's some guy with a whittle knife, just every fucking thing. Food and drink is tax-free. Not if you buy it there, or not if you buy it there. I'm gonna tell you why taxes go up. It's 1900. I'm king. I decide we're gonna tax everybody. We're gonna tax everybody 10% of everything, right? And then I get one wife, and I make love to that wife, and we have a child, and then the child grows, and as the child grows, I want more things for my family. But since I'm king, I make bigger gifts than you ever do, right? You get your family something that fits in the palm of their hand. I get my family something because I'm king, and it's gigantic, right? So that costs. So now that cost is starting to affect the money of my kingdom, my kingdom, like where I dwell, not where you dwell in the kingdom, right? Where I dwell. The wife, the kid, the gifts for them become extravagant. I need more bread. Now we got two things to do. We either go to war or I fucking tax you. The people. My kid grows up. My kids start looking for wives or sons, whichever. If I have a girl, looking for sons. If I have a son, looking for girls, right? They mate with somebody, have offspring. Now I got gifts for my wife, my son, my son's wife, my son's new kid. My son has another kid and another kid. Now there's 3 kids. Now there's extravagant. Who's gonna fucking pay for this? I'm the king. I don't fucking work. Right? Lithuania. What's the king of Lithuania do for a fucking living? Sit in a fucking chair. Make decisions for people he might not care about. We don't have any kings in Lithuania. Bullshit! That Bible say 10 kings. Who's the king of Italy right now? Pope. How do they pick who's gonna be the Pope? Who's the king of Germany right now? If Iran says Ahmadinejad is the president, but the supreme leader is X amount of feet underground, then who the fuck runs Brussels? And who the fuck's underground for Brussels? We live in a time when they have scalar weapons and they have nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons let off so much radiation, but scalar weapons rip your fucking chromosomes to shit And you don't even get caught pointing a weapon at them. And it's done. Vibrations and frequencies. Vibration, frequency, combined. People, I mean, come on, we're in the time of fucking G.I. Joe. They said, hey, we got lasers, watch this battleship blow up a plane. Hey, we got lasers. They can burn us in the street. They got a bomb called, I forgot the name of this, like CMD or something. I forgot what the name of the bomb is. It's an infrastructure bomb. If you drop this bomb, it'll release a chemical that'll kill every living thing. Grass, insect, human. It's for riots. It's for riots. They have a bomb for riots. It's for you. Look at their fight. Cement versus what they call nature, God's green earth. Man digs up earth, lays cement, and then the roots of the earth battle with the cement. You see cement popped up on sidewalks, and the roots doing that from underneath. And they love it. They got a bomb that when you start arguing, it'll even kill the root in the ground. And the cement can win. That tree dies, that's no oxygen in that area. Because we live under a bubble. And they know it. But there's always a goal. If they drop those bombs, like in different cities, during riots, during martial law, then they thin the atmosphere, and those beings that can't breathe H2O, every time you see ancient aliens, those fucking things got breathing tubes. They look like spacesuits. They're not. They're breathing suits. You gotta think about it, man. You gotta think about it. Look at those toys. You grew up on comics, right? You saw Apocalypse, right? Didn't he have tubes to his arms? Because of the atmosphere. His arms were tubes. Look at everybody that's got tubes to their arms in comic books. Their arms are too fucking heavy because of the gravity. What are the tubes for? Look at characters that have tubes to their mouth. They can't breathe. Those characters look just like the carvings that ancient peoples did that they show on Ancient Aliens. Look. There's a particular order of prophecy. We need to be thinned out, and the air needs to be thinned out for those things to be able to walk in their own flesh. This is why they drafted women. This is why they allow women into the army, the military. Women produce more babies. You put enough radiation out, you kill all the eggs. Kill most of the women, and you're only looking for one kid with a baby, one woman with baby bumps later to be able to exterminate all humans. I tell you each time, watch what they're putting in the movies. Right now, in movies and TV, they keep telling you it's colonization time. Go to the movie Battleship. In Battleship, what they say is we're being colonized. What will happen to us is the same thing that happened to the American Indians. That's what's said in the movie. You already know from watching this channel, I've shown you they are one breed of the Canaanite of the Bible. Again, the Bible says Canaanites also experienced leprosy. Do Indians look like they have leprosy? So there are other Canaanites. Now, leprosy says the hair turns blonde. I'm sorry, yellow. So instead of saying, well, we say that person has black hair, I don't see any crayons that say blonde. We say that person has black hair, that person has, what? Brown hair. That's a crayon. That's a crayon. We say that person has red hair. That's a crayon color. And the Bible says yellow. That's a crayon color. Why the fuck are we running around calling people blonde? All the shit in this room is yellow. Is this yellow or blonde? Everything that I pick up is going to look the same. Is that yellow or blonde? So, there's also another type of African that looks just like you and me. That is called a Canaanite. And when the Bible reads, the one Canaanites got their asses kicked, the other breed of Canaanites left because of a plague, leprosy, and their hair turned blonde and their skin turned pale. The last breed saw the ass kicking, saw the plague, and they just left. So they look the same. And again, we were supposed to eradicate them when we came here, when Moses passed away, under the orders of Joshua. But we mingled with them. That's why, even though you think it's whitewashed, that's why the Israelites on the walls of Egypt are yellow with afros. And the Egyptians, who are Africans, who are Hamites, are darker. That means Ephraim and Manasseh would have took Egyptian wives. Or they're still made from Egyptian women because of their father Joseph had to have an Egyptian wife and learn 70 languages. So we intermingled darker, which sets up the 400 rule of the Gentile of white supremacy. Now the 10 kings of white supremacy want their chance to be king, and the Pope's fighting back. And this is exactly what prophecy says will happen. Now, on a quick note, if you want to know the future, go watch the Robotech series. I've told you this many times. I'll tell you real quick. Battleship, the movie, is one part of Robotech. It's the beginning. It's the invaders, coming to this plane. I'm tired of saying planet. Planet makes you think ball. They come to this plane. They send 5 ships. In the movie Battleship, 5 ships came. In Robotech, 1 ship is destroyed on entry. In Battleship, 1 ship is destroyed on entry. In Robotech, the Invid are defeated on their initial contact, but that wasn't their goal. Their goal was to get people here on Earth to intermix. Every movie that you see, every TV show, Colony, Avengers the movie, there are aliens among us. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the aliens. First they called them Inhumans, now they just call them aliens. Soon the progression will be what? Demons. We're progressing towards truth. In Robotech, you've got gay-looking boys piloting ships. There's no one macho in that. You've got motorized bikes that convert around men wearing armor to make a heavy gauge armor for military purposes. That's the same thing in Avengers. That's the Iron Man suit. That's the War Machine suit. In Battletech, in Battleship, they walked, their legs, the aliens' legs were like the legs of a jackal or the legs of a dog or the legs of a goat. In Robotech, the Invid themselves were humanoids, but they piloted machines whose legs were in the same shape. Now that doesn't really make sense to me until I combine it all. They were giants in Robotech. The Invid were 13 feet tall. Now is this starting to ring a motherfucking bell? They were blue. They were green skin. None of them had afros. They all had stringy hair. They had an insect type of Invid machine. And it had crab-like arms, a crayfish-like cockpit, and jackal, dog, goat type legs. You know what I mean. Your knee bends this way. Those things, their legs bend opposite. Like the Charlie Sheen movie where he's the radio listener and these dog-like things that walk upright shapeshift into people. I want to say it's Contact, but that's not Contact. That's that gay Jodie Foster woman. In Robotech, all the women had different color hair. Blue, green, orange. In society right now, you've got pink, blue, green hair. And people aren't satisfied with their appearance that was gifted to them. They alter their image. Now people are altering their image to match Robotech. This thing was created in the 70s. Now, today, you see the fruition? Nothing but blueprints. This is like 45 years later. And people just can't see it. There's nothing new under the sun. I've got a feeling when we see Contact, it's 5 ships. When you think about that, and you look at the Battle of LA in 1945, that means the Invid have already come. That means the cartoon Robotech was just a retelling of an actual event. That means Battleship, the movie, that has nothing to do with the fucking game you grew up with, is a retelling of an actual event. So those things are already here amongst us. And all they are fallen. So, you understand, white, black, green, purple, whoever the fuck you are, you're a slave. You pay 30% of your tax money, and it was supposed to go to the Pope. Just like the Hebrews paid 30% of their wages to Rome. Just like the Essenes left their community, our king the Creator wants us to leave these communities. Set thyself upon Zion. It doesn't say the mountain. We're supposed to look for the mountain. But we need to set ourselves aside, because the one that enslaved the dark people, the Afro-Asian people in the first place, has enslaved everybody that came here. His percentages have been taken from him by the other kings that put him in power. Now there is a war that is about to break out between the technically 11 Caucasus factions. As much as I want to know who the 10 kings are, I believe I only know 7. There are a lot of people that are in play, and the real evidence of who the 10 kings are and who the 10 kingdoms are have to deal with history. Now I can tell you, it's easy to see when you look at a map of the world of who conquered what lands, who the 10 kings are. There's Europe, France, China, Japan, because China owns islands that are not in their region. Japan owns islands that are not in their region. Britain owns lands that are not in their region. France owns lands that are not in their regions. The Dutch own New York, right? Pennsylvania Dutch, all that stuff. Germany has their own thing going with the Nazi Reich that's supposed to rise up in the midst of this war, which doesn't technically make them one of the 10 kings. Russia didn't claim land outside of what the Russia's coming over like the rest of the immigrants now, so they're not a 10 king. You see how that's working? So I know I only named 5 right there, and I know I named a few that aren't, but most people would think they are. But look at a world map and see who owns things that are nowhere near their land. And that's to show people that have done actions to enslave other peoples, just like we're enslaved. So that is the point of this. I want you to understand what these wars that are about to happen are about. I want you to understand, I believe through scripture the Lord says refuge is where he buried Moses. Now, I had another phone call from a very smart person. He said he was, now this is different, this is the phone call I told you I'd tell you later. Now, he said he was reading Deuteronomy and Moses was called Son of Man. Now, isn't that interesting? In the beginning of the book, the title Son of Man is getting called to Moses. Moses leaves Egypt, goes, makes a wife, was it Midian or something like that? So they look different from the Israelites. But they're still from Moses' bloodline, so they're Israel. So Moses has children, that bloodline lives. And when we get to the book of Jeremiah, what does it say? Son of man, preach to the mountain. If Moses is a son of man, Moses is dead in those mountains. He can't preach to those mountains. Unless it's the descendant of Moses. Not the descendants to Judah. Not the descendants of Ephraim. Not Asher, not descendants of Moses could be Son of Man. That's why when we read prophecy, it sounds like it's different groups that eventually form into one Exodus. The different children, the different biological great-grandchildren of Moses lead the children out, form into one and lead the children out. Then what? Once they make that group, then the prophecy says the bloodline of David shows himself. And what? Then we're led to the king to make the covenant. Then we don't see him for a while, like how he did with Abram. And then the bloodline of David shows us to the mountain where we start to replant and rebuild. That's what the Old Testament say. That's why they want you. That's what the ancient testimony says. We shouldn't even be calling it old. See, when we say old in this time of technology, upgrade, we say old. It's outdated, and that's what the Christians put in our head. Your God is outdated. Look at our new neon God. We need to respect the ancient writing, the ancient testimony. You, in your heart, done told yourself, the Most High led me here. I'm not writing to myself saying, the Most High led me to this. I don't care if it upsets you. I don't care if you don't like to hear cussing. You're not supposed to hear some gentle, warm, loving message. I'm not him. The message I got is cruel. You've been treated cruel, and you still bow. I can't gently ask you to get up off your goddamn knees and stop worshiping blasphemy. Well, I want to hear it a certain way. Well, should I go over the list of my wants and desires? Should I? I want freedom. I desire peace. I want a future where there's no killing. I want space between us, so that when we disagree, we're comfortable separate. I want us close together, so that if you need my hands and if I have the time, I can lend them. I never want to see you hungry. I won't want to see you hurt. I'd like to be in a situation where you're my hero. I'd like to see you in a situation where one of my children one day is your hero. I want to look at people on the left side of me, no matter what they look like, have the same mentality and belief as I do. I want to look at people to the right of me that look just like me, that have the same belief and mentality as I do. So there. I told you my wants. But that shit ain't come true. So I'm not gonna tell